This week marks Global Entrepreneur Week. Many events and competitions across the world were organized to inspire millions to explore their potential as entrepreneurs. We have Andrew Tsuro, who's Program Director at EHub, and of course, he is the Chairman of Toastmasters International. Thank you very much for coming to our program.
Thank you very much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're looking at how to inspire entrepreneurs throughout the world. So far, if you were going to give us the state of entrepreneurship in South Africa, especially at development phase, how would you describe it?
It's something that we all realize that it's not going very well at this stage. So many people are starting their entrepreneurship journey just by waking up next thing in the morning. And as you realize, later on, it's not the same concept that they thought they were getting themselves into. It's now a big hellhole, and we need to address that as urgently as possible.
Well, what could be wrong with creating a platform where somebody can start as a business toddler, where they can learn how to crawl before they walk and before they can run?
That's essentially what the Entrepreneurs Hub, the EHub that we are running, is focused on. So we want to ensure that by the time you walk into this entrepreneurship journey, you've figured out exactly what needs to be done. You're not figuring it out as you go. Because I think that's the challenge. We figure things out as we go, and then we get deterred or we get depressed by what we experience because we were not mentally prepared for it. And this is exactly what we want to ensure, that our aspiring entrepreneurs get into this, because they are coming from the workspace. And in the workspace, they're already depressed by the work that they're doing. Yeah. And now they need to now find a way to get out. And they're being told, entrepreneurship, follow your passion. But at what cost?
But you know, when you talk about coming from workplace, it's not easy for other people who just come from school, can't find jobs, have done internships only, or they don't even have work exposure. And for one to say, I want to be, it's different from I can be.
So essentially, this is where I think our challenge is. I want to be or I can be. What's the difference? What's the fundamental crux that's making us understand this? And the Entrepreneurship 2020 program that we're running is to try and ensure that our entrepreneurs understand what is it that you're saying when you say, I want to be an entrepreneur? What is it that you mean when you say, I can be an entrepreneur? At one of our events, we discussed the difference between an entrepreneur and a business person. You've got to understand that there's a difference. And when you're saying you're an entrepreneur, what innovation are you bringing into the space? And if you're saying you're a business person, how are you approaching the business world? Because, I mean, our economies or our industries are saturated and we've got so many people coming in. But what is it that is making you unique? And that's what essentially we're trying to build with the Entrepreneurship 2020 program.
Does that problem then explain why we're having so many businesses failing? When you look at the stats from January to July this year, 1,000 small businesses shut their doors. And you can imagine those that were not part of Statistics South Africa's calculation of those entities.
Yes, that's just one. So remember, they say if your foundation is shaky, you cannot build a strong house. And I think that's exactly where we are falling short, because our foundations are shaky. You'll find that when you get into entrepreneurship, like I did personally when I started off, I just woke up and I thought, this is a brilliant idea. People will love it. And yes, people loved it. But what about the continuity about it? So you have to realize what are the foundations that we need to do. And that's exactly our 4-week program that we're doing is going to address the foundation part of it.
And also, I mean, like I'm taking a look at the visuals there for somebody who is very good with steel or somebody who's very good with wood. And these people are so talented, but to have tools, to have money to understand the formal business setup is a problem, because they don't have money to go to school. They don't have that academic background of what they want to do. They don't know financials, marketing, advertising, and so forth. When you talk about a business entity that has a potential and where the jockey knows how to ride, but they don't know the formal setup of business, what do we do then?
So the first key thing is we've got to make them aware of the need to do so. So whilst, yes, you might have the talent, you've got to realize that what is the pain that you can avoid by going to a formal school? Because, I mean, you think, I know it already, what do I need to be taught? And they say it's very dangerous to not have a teachable spirit. So now we've got to ensure that you've got that mentality that you want to learn something. And once you build that mentality, then let's now set you up for that. Now, there's so many hubs or entrepreneurs, incubators that are happening around, but are they accessible to the people that really need them?
And the issue of accessibility is not the only thing. What are they being taught there? Because graduating from an incubation hub is not a foregone conclusion that you know business. Because I'll tell you one thing. Some of them are taught about this concept, a competitive market. Why teach people to compete in one business sector where you get many people having the Me Too attitude, whereas they can do complementary businesses where they can supply, they can do logistics, they can do marketing, designs and everything? Why are people not being taught how to work together, instead working against each other?
So what is our focus when we're teaching these people? That's the way the challenge is, because I think our focus is not on growing businesses and entrepreneurs that are going to be changing the landscape. We are worried about when we do the EHub or when we do whatever we do, we're thinking about what can I get out of it? You see, we need to realize the painful fact that our economy is in dire stress because we've got a 30% unemployment rate. And that's just the statistic side of it. And if we are to build entrepreneurship people that are going to build businesses that will last a long time, we need to ensure that
But Frank, you must remember, some of these people come from poor backgrounds. They don't even have money for taxis. They don't have money for lunch. And they are in survivalist businesses.
Right.
Now, how do you really calculate the financials in terms of reinvesting the money into the business when you have to take care of yourself? You need to buy toiletry, you need clothes to wear, you need boots, overalls and safety equipment. I mean, like, it's not easy for them. Are we really blaming them out of the vacuum when we don't put ourselves in their shoes? That these people are struggling, man.
It's very true, and it's scary because that's the reality of what we're dealing with, and that's where the talent is, and that's why our talent is being left down, and essentially they then decide to go into work and be depressed Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. because they're not seeing the essential part of it. The key is now, when you realize such people, like we say in African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a hub to raise a business. And that's where the EHub comes in to say, right, we recognize what you've got. We recognize where you need to be. Now, let us be the hub that you need. Let's talk of the relationships. How can we bring you people here? And this is essentially what it is. It's about cementing reliable relations. If I know you to be able to support me, but I don't have the means, I need to be able to reach out to you. But if I don't have the means to reach out to you, then let's have someone in between, the EHub, to reach out to get to you so that you can come and support me with the talent and upskill me or give me the tools or resources or perhaps the funding that we required for us to get to there.
All right. Thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Andrew Tsuro is Program Director at the EHub, and of course, he is the chairperson of Toastmasters International.